Hey, somebody's got to hide the cookies. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to The Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today, and with every show we do, is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. This week, the Professional Noticer is sponsored by Kamado Joe Grills. This is not just a line of products. Kamado Joe is what happens when a couple of guys who love to grill get serious about creating the world's best cookers. Their goal is simple. It's that each product bearing the Kamado Joe name becomes a trusted part of exceptional grilling experiences for you. And I must say that with its beautiful red color, it'll look perfect beside the Christmas tree. Check them out at KamadoJoe.com. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on the Professional Noticer. And as you know, we love it when somebody comes to the table with observations and answers. And we have one of those kind of people today. He has given TED Talks about self-discipline and confidence. He's the author of a number of books. He was a professional basketball player for 9 years, and he hosts the Work on Your Game podcast. He has a new book out called The Third Day. Please welcome Dre Baldwin. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm doing excellent, Andy. Excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. So you're in Miami today, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, Orange Beach is kind of like a redneck Miami. You know, that's
Okay.
where we are. Yeah.
I can picture that.
So man,
Yeah.
how's the new book doing?
It is doing great. It's been out for about 60 days. It seems like it's been way longer than that, but it's only been about 60 days. So it is doing great. I'm excited about sharing it and talking about the principles from it.
Yeah, man. Well, our viewers, our listeners are familiar with you. We know your story. This is your second time here with us. So tell us about the third day. Tell us how did the title come about?
Sure. So second time, hopefully that means I was good the first time. So
Yeah, absolutely.
With this, great. Well, this book, The Third Day, is actually one of my most popular frameworks. I mean, the whole work on your game philosophy that my business is based on is a framework in itself. But then within that, one of those frameworks is The Third Day is all about discipline, Andy. And this is one of the main things that even when I look back over my own life, even when I was working at McDonald's and Foot Locker and CVS, it was the discipline was the main thing that made me valuable to my bosses, and on top of the skill. But it was the discipline, the reliability, knowing this guy's going to show up all the time. And even when I got into sports, showing up every day and just working on my game so I could get better. And then just putting myself out there, even on the internet. When I became an entrepreneur, putting material out every single day, which I still do to this day, has been the main thing that has gotten me going. I'm not the most talented, not the most skilled, not the most artistic, but I'm the most consistent. That's always been my thing. So the third day is all about any situation in life when you just think of anything new that you start. I don't care if it's writing a book, starting a business, getting into a relationship, going back to the gym. The first day you feel great, right? You're excited about it. It's a new thing that you're doing. Hopefully it's something voluntary. You chose to do it. So who doesn't feel excited on the first day? So you get there, you do your thing. It might be a little bit more work than you thought it was. It might kick your butt because it's a little bit harder than you expected, but this is the first day. You look at yourself in the mirror when it's over and you say, hey, I'm doing this. I'm here. I started. Second day, now you got a streak going, right? The second day, you got a little bit of fatigue from the first day because you're not conditioned to do this thing, whatever this thing is. You're not yet conditioned for it, but it's only the second day. I mean, Andy, you think of the second time you drive a brand new car, it still smells new, right? Still has that new car smell. Second day. And you drag yourself home. After that, you look at yourself in the mirror, you say, hey, I'm doing this. Just a little bit less enthusiasm, but you're still doing it. By the third day already, Andy, you're questioning your whole decision-making process. You're questioning everything that got you into this. By the third day, if you're at the gym, let's say, this is your third day working out, you might roll over, grab your phone, text your trainer and say, hey, charge me for the session, but I'm not coming. All right, by the third day, by the third day in your business, you're like, okay, I'm not going to make $1 million in a week like I thought I was. So the third day, you're realizing there's some real work that you're going to have to do here. You realize that this thing that you signed up for is not going to be all fun and games. There's some real activity that you're going to have to do, and some real grinding and some real toughness is going to be required of you in order to see this thing through. And is at that moment, that third day is the inflection point where you have to decide, am I going to show up like a professional and really stick this thing out, or am I going to quit, or am I going to kind of maybe half-ass it and not show up at all? Am I going to give up on this? So the third day is not necessarily 1, 2, 3 days in a row. It's a metaphor for any moment in your career, in your business, in a relationship, in your life, when you realize that there's some real work that has to be done in order to achieve that goal that you have. And you have to decide, do you have the mental toughness and the grit and the perseverance to see yourself through those murky times, those valleys, in order to get to the next peak? That's what the third day is about. So it's more about the decision than it is about the actual moment.
Man, that is killer. I love that, because that describes perfectly what happens. And that, I have the idea that it's not just entrepreneurs and athletes that applies to. That applies in a lot of different ways, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It applies in the relationship. Right? The third day after you get married, you might realize, hey, this is not going to be as fun as I thought it was.
Well, the third month, maybe. The third month,
right.
Maybe. But
the third year, maybe.
The third month doesn't sound as good as a title for the book. So, but
right.
But where does that? Where are some other places that I'm just trying to think. Where are some other places that third day shows up in work and life, other than the relationships and athletic endeavors and entrepreneur? Where are some other ways?
Man, it's so many ways. So let's say in a business, you go and get funded for your business. You have this great business plan, how everything's going to work out. You get the money, you get started, and you realize, okay, this is not going to go as smoothly as I thought by that third day, when the customers aren't responding the way that you thought they would respond. I was just talking to a trainer that I know this morning. He was telling me about how he ran a marathon, and when he got to about mile 15, he realized, okay, this is not as easy as it sounds. If someone, let's say we just had a whole shutdown for maybe going on 2 years now with COVID, someone goes back to the gym, that third day back in the gym, even though they're used to working out, now when they get back in there, they realize, okay, my body is giving me some feedback that I wasn't expecting. Am I going to keep showing up here? In relationships, as we talked about, and let's say someone writing a book. I mean, you're an author, Andy, so how many authors have you met? Because I know as an author myself, whenever you tell someone you write books, you usually run into someone who says, well, I want to write a book, or I started to write a book. And what happens? They get to that third chapter, and they're staring at that blank page and that blinking cursor, or that blank page with their pen in hand, and they can't come up with the words to write. Or for me, it was the editing process. Editing process is the part that kills me the most. It's not the writing. The writing is easy. But when you get to that, it's always going to be a period in anything that you do, because there is no, as a professional, and there's no easy job. Jobs look easy to us when we're not the one doing it. But when you get into the job, you realize, okay, that job is not as easy as it looks. It looks easy to be a professional athlete. It looks easy to be a professional Instagrammer or a TikToker, right? All you do is post pictures and make little videos and dance. But then you go do that job for a week, you'll realize, okay, I have to do this every single day. All right, it's not as easy as it looks from the outside looking in. So every job, if there's money involved, that means people are getting serious about it. And that money comes with an expectation. And when you have expectations on you, you're going to run into the third day, simply because no person, I don't care how dedicated, how tough, nobody feels like being at work every single day. Nobody. Right. And it's those days when you don't feel like being there, what decision do you make? Do you show up? That's what separates the pros from the amateurs.
All right, let me ask you this. You have enough experience in a bunch of different areas of navigating the third day. In fact, I would say that because you're so aware of it, that you prepare for it. that you're aware. Okay, and I also know that it's a metaphor, because it's like your friend who on the 15th mile. I mean, he had his third day on the 15th mile, right? And so that third day is a metaphor. So how do you navigate that? What is your mental state? What do you say to yourself? What do you avoid saying to yourself? How do you navigate that third day if you're somebody who is now just becoming aware that, yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been stopping on the third day.
Well, the first thing is understanding the fact that it's going to occur. And that, like I said, a lot of people will start certain ventures and they're excited about it because it's a brand new thing and you have this vision of what you're going to do, and you try to set conservative goals. And even your conservative goals are still way too lofty once you actually get into the job. It's understanding that you're going to run into this third day. And the biggest thing, Andy, is just to make sure you don't quit on yourself when you hit the third day, as if there's something wrong with you. For example, I was talking to a coaching client of mine just this morning, and he's looking to lose weight. He's already lost about 20 pounds in a few months, but he's kind of got to a certain number, and he's kind of plateauing at that number. He's not getting any bigger, but he's not getting any smaller. And he's starting to get frustrated. Like, all right, I don't understand why I'm not losing this weight, Dre. Maybe I need to work a little bit harder. Maybe I need to do this, do that. And I explained to him, like, listen, this is just part of the game. Your body is not just going to lose a pound every single day just because you decided all of a sudden you want to start working out. You have to go through this period. This is the third day that you're at right now. You're kind of staying at that same spot. You just need to stick to your disciplines, keep doing the same things the same way every time, which is what professionals do. And eventually your body is going to get past this part and is going to move on, and then we can get you back into losing more weight and getting to the goals that you want to get to. But understanding that the rest of the world is not on the same page as you are when it comes to your agenda for success. Success shows up on its own time when it wants to. And if you don't respect that success, and you don't respect that success has its own schedule, then success will never show up in your life. So it's just understanding that the third day means, as long as it takes, you have to keep showing up and doing the work, even when the success you've expected to achieve has not yet occurred. And that is really a challenge of your mental toughness. So that's the first thing that people have to understand. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's an emotional IQ, that mental toughness, the understanding, and I guess acknowledgement that between your excitement and actual success, there will be a third day somewhere in there. Yeah. And that third day, in essence, that third day guards the treasure. Is what you're after. If the third day turns you away or keeps you away from the treasure, you're right. It's what separates the professionals from the amateurs. It's what separates the people who make it from the people who don't. And it becomes something that you can be consistent at, because if you understand what that third day is about, and that ultimately it doesn't hurt, it's not gonna, it's just something you got to lean against until you're past, until you're through. It's almost like a wall that will dissolve if you lean against it. So
exactly,
that's awesome. And I know that there is a mastery of thought that goes with this, that somebody has to, and I think, I've always thought that people can prepare to think. I talk about how our thinking determines every choice we make, but we can also choose how we think. And so to prepare for that third day by preparing our thoughts and preparing, it's almost like when you're going out on the court against a certain team, and you know that there's a guy that you're going to have to guard, and okay, this guy has a tendency to fake up, move right, and then shoot. And so you're preparing for that tendency. And so it's the same kind of thinking to master this third day process, to know this is coming, this is what it's going to feel like, this is what I tend to feel like in these situations, and this is what this time I choose to get past. And I am choosing to get past it before I get there, because I know what it's going to be like, and I know what it takes to get past it. And so it's something that you can master, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the third day is a mentality. That's why I said it's the subtitle of the book is the decision that separates the pros from the amateurs. So it's not about the moment. It is about the moment, but it's not. It's about the mentality that you have, knowing, okay, tomorrow I'm probably not going to feel too good. I'm not going to feel excited about being here at work, but I know I have to go to work. And knowing that it's coming is half the battle. Like, you know that it's coming, so when it hits, it doesn't bother you as much, because, you know, like they say in boxing, it's not the power of the punch that knocks you out, it's the punch that you don't see coming. All right, as long as you see the punch coming, as long as you see it coming, no matter how hard they hit you, you can at least brace your body for it, right? But if you don't see it coming, they don't even have to hit you that hard. It can knock you out. So that's the important part of the third day, is understanding that the third day is coming. And just to keep it even really simple, as you said there, Andy, the opportunity in life is always in the opposites, is what I tell people. So if you look at what the masses of people do, if you want to be different, just do the opposite. All right, see, most people don't show up on the third day. All right, just show up on the third day. Even if you just show up, you don't have to know what to do. Just be in the room, and you'll be different than most people.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. So what are the next steps that people who are hearing this and they got a light going on, you know, what are the next steps that they can take now? I mean, other than getting this book, and we'll have in the show notes where to get it, and we want you to tell us where to get it. But what are the steps they can take now to, you know, regarding this third day?
Well, the first thing is just this understanding that we talked about. Understanding that there's no celebration, no trophy when you show up on the third day. There's no penalty. You don't get fired if you don't show up on the third day. But it's not going to be obvious what your relationship to it is until it becomes obvious. So this is just locking into your mentality, understanding this is a long game that you're playing. All right? This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. That's the mentality that you want to have in place. And the most important thing that people need to understand is that the third day is about creating those long-term results. And it's about that discipline of showing up every single day and having that time perspective. I think it was Brian Tracy who wrote in one of his books, he talked about this concept, and I had never heard anyone explain it the way that he did. He said that successful people think further into the future, the ramifications of their actions, than unsuccessful people. Unsuccessful people think of immediate gratification. My actions that I take today, what is it going to get me by the end of today? Whereas successful people say the actions I take today, what is it going to do for me a year from now? So they're thinking way further into the future, and that's how they become more successful over time, assuming that we make it into the future, whatever the future happens to be. So it's having that time perspective and understanding that I'm going to sacrifice my gratification today in order to have gratification in the future. And if you keep doing that, then your futures will keep showing up, right? Let's say a year from now, you got the future from today, this year. Then the next day you got that future. Next day you had that future. You understand what I'm saying? It's kind of like it.
I got it.
It's like falling in waves, because you're always planning for the future, but that future is always hitting because you planned for this a year ago. So you're always getting that gratification, but it's delayed. It's just a year later, but you're getting it over and over again because of the way that you showed up. And it's just that mentality of understanding this is what makes the pros. Because if you look at the definition of professional in the dictionary, it just says a person who gets paid to do something as their main occupation. That's the dictionary definition. But the work on your game definition, my definition of professional, Andy, is a person who shows up and delivers every single time regardless of how they're feeling. That's what really makes a pro. Because there are plenty of people who have talent, skills, resources, and opportunity who don't become pros. They're good enough, but they blow their opportunity because they don't show up all the way. And if we think about something like sports, if you look at yourself with your show, you look at anyone you know who's really good at what they do and they're the type of person that you would recommend and put your reputation behind, what really makes you recommend them is not their potential, is not what they do on their best day, is the fact that you know they're consistent. It's the fact that you know that any given day If you go listen to that person give a speech, listen to them give some type of consultation or presentation, they do a coaching session, they get on the microphone and do their show, you know they're going to be a certain baseline level of competent every single time. That's what makes the pros the pros. The reason why Michael Jordan was who he was, or LeBron James, let's say, current guy, is who he is, Tom Brady, is because they're consistent. You know exactly what you're going to get from this person every single time. That's what makes the pros, and that's what we pay for. Right? We don't pay for the peak of what you did 5 years ago because we don't know if you can do that. Can you recreate that energy? What I pay for is the fact that if I go to a LeBron James game, his team is playing, I know that no matter what night it is, if he's playing, he's going to give me 25.7 rebounds, 7 assists every given night. Doesn't matter what night it is, he's going to do that every single time. If I watch Michael Jordan, I know he's going to give me 30 points, guaranteed. That's what we pay for. We pay for the professional to show up and deliver every single time. And that's what the third day is about. And I'll tell you what happens once somebody masters the third day. They get to this place that we call the fourth day. And what the fourth day is that the work did not get any easier and you didn't even really get better. The thing is, you just got used to what it is. You got used to showing up on the third day to the point that it's not easier, but it looks easier from the outside looking in and it feels easier to you. So it's not easy to show up and get on this mic consistently as you do, Andy, or to get on stage and speak the way that you have in your career, or to write books the way that you have. But you've gotten so used to doing it that it looks easy. So when someone sees you do it, they say, well, I want to do that too, Andy. But they don't realize how many third days you had to get through to make it look as seamless and as simple as you make it look. That's the third day.
Yeah. I was thinking when you were talking about that consistency and Michael Jordan and LeBron James, I was thinking how many conversations I had and have had with comedians and speakers. You know, I started in comedy, and I've told a lot of people that, you know, the difference in a $250 a night comedian and a $20,000 a night comedian is that $20,000 a night comedian is consistent.
That's right.
You know what you're getting, and you know, as that $250 person gets higher and higher, the more consistency is demanded of them, because you know, if some place is paying $250 and they blow it, it's like you know, whatever. But if they're paying them $10,000, you better be funny. You know, and I don't care if you've got a headache and you just got off the phone with your wife and had a fight and it's Thursday night and you don't like Thursdays. I don't care. It's 8 o'clock. It's time to be funny for an hour, and you better be funny. You know, and so if you're not, soon you'll be back down to $250 a night. And so that consistency, and you're right. There is an ease that comes with that, because people watch that, and it seems so seamless to watch Michael Jordan, or it might seem seamless to watch somebody on stage that's just talking, and it looks like, well, they're just a natural, you know. And there is some natural ability there. Obviously, there's natural ability with Michael Jordan. There's natural ability with somebody that can kind of talk fast. But there is an understanding of how you take that talent and develop a skill with it.
Right.
That you get to where, because, and I used to say about comedy and speaking, the better you are at it, the more you should look like you're not really doing anything but just stand up there having a conversation. And so there is that. So one last question. I got one question for you, and that is, what was your most significant third day?
My most significant third day was even trying to get into professional sports. And I have a background in professional sports, and when people hear that, a lot of times, Andy, they'll assume, okay, well, you're tall, you're athletic, you know, you've been an athlete your whole life. This road was kind of paved for you, but
sure,
it absolutely was not. I came out of a Division III level of college, which is, Division I is what you see on TV. I was down in the basement at Division III. And most of us do not become pro athletes. The pros are mostly guys out of Division I schools. So for me to even try to make it, my first year out of college, I did not have a job in professional sports. I didn't start my career till 15 months after graduating from college. So that whole year plus was a third day. On top of the fact that I knew coming out of my level of school, because I saw the players who came out before me who were very good players, they didn't even get a chance. Nobody even paid them any mind, even though they had been good players in college. So I knew that I was going to face an uphill battle to make it, Andy, on top of the fact that I was getting into an industry where there's very little information on how to do it. Like, what steps do you take to make it? I'm talking playing overseas. There's not a lot of information on it, even to this very day. Most of the information about how to do what I did as a pro athlete, I created it. I wrote the books. I've written 4 books on how to play overseas. Nobody else has written any. So I created the information. So imagine what I had to do to figure it out. I had to figure it out myself. So that was a very long third day. And even then, during my career, once I got into it, there were still times where I found myself out of a job, where I would have a little bit of success and it go down. Then I'd be unemployed again. And there was a point where I asked myself, well, how can I get some real control over my life? Because I can't have my revenue all based on when somebody else decides that I'm worthy of a job. And that's what made me start paying attention to what I now have in building a business and entrepreneurship, because I knew I would have more control, where I could take some basketball stuff, because I was on YouTube making videos. I could take the fact that I've always had an inclination for computers and the internet, and something that was marketable, where I eat it, I can make money. And that's what I started focusing on. And that's actually the genesis of where this whole philosophy came from, was talking about just my mentality from sports. And when I started talking about it, Andy, what happened is I started to draw an audience of people who didn't play sports. And they would say, Dre, man, the way you're breaking that down, I know you're talking to basketball players, but the way you're explaining it, anybody can use that. They would say, I don't play sports, but I heard your video and I like the way you break down mindset. Anyone can understand that. So that's where it started for me. I was still playing ball at the time, but I already knew that I would be doing this, having conversations with people like you, back when I was only halfway through my athletic career, because you can't play basketball forever. You can't dunk on everybody forever, but you can use your mind forever. So I already knew that's where I was headed, even while I was still playing.
Man, that is awesome. He hosts the podcast Work on Your Game, available wherever great podcasts are delivered. And the book is The Third Day. And so, Dre, tell us where we can get the book, and we'll also make sure all that is on the show notes.
Sure. So I got a copy of it here so people can see it if they're watching on video. So this is the book, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs, everything we talked about here. You can get the book for free. I will give you a free copy of this book. All you're going to do is cover the shipping, and I will send it to you worldwide, wherever you are. The link is thirddaybook.com. That's spelled out, thirddaybook.com. And that's it.
Awesome.
That's where you get it.
And we'll have the address and where to order it on the show notes. Trey, thank you for being with us again. I thank you, man.
Absolutely.
You're going to be our first guy to ever have on 3 times. We'll have you on the third day. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm going to put it on my calendar to reach out to you again next year. So I absolutely appreciate you for sharing your platform with me again, Andy. I appreciate the conversation, and all your audience for their time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing the tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Miniature basketballs provided for the cast and crew by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by Party Rollers. Are you out of ideas for your next party? You've had pool parties, costume parties, and dinner parties. Your guests have played charades, danced to a live band, and turned your house into a casino. What now? Now it's time to call party rollers for the most satisfying get-together you've ever hosted. Simply reserve your date and time with your nearest party roller franchise, and our delightful service personnel will deliver a bright yellow Caterpillar 12-ton double-drum steamroller right to your home. It'll be filled with diesel and comes with a waiver for your guest to sign so they can actually drive. All you have to do is provide whatever everyone would like to see flattened. Watch the stress and anxiety melt from the faces of your guests as they steer the 12-ton party roller over pumpkins, 2-liter bottles of soda, water beds, and your neighbor's lawn furniture. A party roller is the perfect anger management tool. One guest may choose to bring a framed portrait of her ex-husband and do a little back and forth on it until it's as thin as aluminum foil. Another might want to bring her ex-husband's sports car and turn it into actual aluminum foil. A case of canned ravioli, a 55-gallon drum of fish oil, or an entire raw liver from the butcher shop. Whatever you and your friends decide to steamroll will provide hours of hilarity. So call now to get your party roller reserved, and remember our motto, we provide the steamroller, but the cleanup is on you.